Well, welcome back, Couch Critics. We promised you we'd do a weekly wrap until the end of the season. Here we are, a week on from the round 25, the round 24 wrap. We're just going to have a quick chat about what happened in round 25. We're going to have a bit of a chat about some of the stuff that happened this week off the field, or maybe a little bit on the field, and then we're going to have a look at the final regular season round of the season. I'm Brad. I'm joined by my co-host Sogg. We're the A-League Couch Critics. If you haven't watched us before, if you're not subscribed, please do so. Leave a like for the video and get amongst the comments and let us know what you thought of the week that was. But Samuel, how are you feeling?
Yeah, good. Excited for the last round of the A-League. It's last weekend was fantastic, and yeah, I'm here. Football's good. Life is busy. Yeah, how you going, Brad?
Yeah. I'm doing pretty well. I went to the game on Friday night between the Wanderers and the Phoenix. Well, that'll be one of the first games we'll be talking about. So, I'm pretty keen to chat about some football and really looking forward to the weekend ahead. Let's get straight into our weekly wrap-up. First game on the Friday night, like I said, I was there. Wanderers v Wellington at Parramatta, over 10,000 there for our final home game of the regular season. And hopefully it won't be the last home game at Parramatta. Really exciting performance, 4-0 win for the Wanderers. Borello on the score sheet once again. Aidan Simmons, it must break your heart to see another youth product let go by the Sky Blues, doing quite well at the Wanderers. And yeah, Neuenhoff as well, getting on the score sheet as well. Did you watch this one at all?
Yeah. Watch this one, and Wanderers were clinical, just red hot form, coming into the finals exactly how you'd want to, and things just seem to be clicking all over the park. And Brandon Borello is fantastic. What a player! Just hot.
It
He's
really
just hot.
sucks because I don't think he's going to be here next year. Like, he's definitely earned himself another record of Europe if he wants to take it, and you can't blame him because he's worked really hard. I was really happy. I think it's been the best performance we've put in for a long, long time. I think we're looking back to the Tony Popovich days since we've seen a performance like that. We've already had a couple of 4-0 wins this year, both against MacArthur. So read into what you want about that. But I thought it was clinical. I thought it's really hard to criticise them. They played really well. Let's head into the first of our Saturday games. F3 Derby. Now they'll find for that bit of cement of the actual road. Central Coast, a 3-1 win away from home. The game was up at Newcastle. Brendan O'Neill got 2 yellows, I think, in that game as well. And
Carl Jenkinson sent off as well.
Yeah,
right?
I think so. I can't remember. I don't remember that one. But anyway, another win by the Mariners, and it really has made that top four. And we'll talk about that later. That top four is really competitive now. With the Mariners getting that win. A good crowd. I think it was one of the Newcastle's best crowd since well before COVID. Sammy Silvera getting 2 goals and Marco Tullio getting the other one. Yeah, Carl Jenkinson. Okay, the 5th minute of stoppage time right at the end. So I probably missed that one. But Mariners, I think, hit over 50 goals this season. They're looking really well, really good as well coming into the finals.
Yeah, yep. Jets probably disappointed as well because they're still right on the edge. Like, everything has to go right for them this weekend. But disappointing for them to kind of show up in the F3 Derby like that when there's so much pressure on their season. But the Mariners they're just having another great season. Monty's got them playing great football. He's just built a really good squad. They look good. Maybe a little bit more defensively weak than the Wanderers.
Yep. Heading into the evening game on the Saturday, it was say this lightly, the Melbourne derby between, I hope I didn't offend any Victory fans, but also I hope it did. City up against Western United. City already securing the Premier's played. Western, I think they're out of the finals contention now, which is disappointing for the reigning champs, but they needed the win here, and they didn't get it because one man turned up ready to claim. And I think this was going to be one of my talking points for the week, but let's talk about it now. Jamie McLaren, a hat-trick. He's now the highest goal scorer in the history of the A-League. We always expected it was always going to be a matter of when and not if. Clinical man, tap-in merchant, call him what you want, but he's got over 140 goals in the A-League. It's an incredible tally for him.
Yeah, and he's got seasons to burn. Like, he's not old. He's still, in in his prime, and so he's going to score way more. Will he ever reach the Damien Murray kind of Australian record? I'm not quite sure. He'd really have to keep scoring at 20 a season for the next couple of years to get there. He's still about 100 off, so he might not hit that. But yeah, what a career he's had in the A-League for a couple of clubs too: Perth, Brisbane, now City. Yeah, he's been good everywhere. He's scored good goals everywhere he's gone. And when you've got a City team around him like he has now, you don't even have to be the best striker to score goals in that team. But his quality in the box, he's just lethal. Yeah, he'll score chances that he gets. So yeah, a great achievement, and he's worked really hard. He's had attempts over in Europe and never quite made it there. Yeah, but to do it here in Australia more than anyone else, to beat the likes of Bezat, Barisha, and others, it's a huge achievement. Yeah.
Now, hats off to Jamie McLaren, and heading into the Sunday games, Melbourne Victory beat Macarthur 2-1 in the Spoon Bowl. So, well, I mean, it's not all over. Macarthur could still avoid the wooden spoon and hand it to Melbourne Victory, but a late winner there for Melbourne Victory. Probably gives their fans a little bit of joy after what's been a pretty awful season from them for multiple reasons. But yeah, I don't think this was a particularly good game, and I think it was reflected on their position on the ladder.
Yeah, I didn't watch this one actually this weekend. It's probably one of the only games I didn't watch this weekend.
You didn't
but surely Victory are happy with that. For them to get, if they finish bottom, to get 2 spoons in the last 3 seasons it's just got to signal huge warning signs. The club is not in a healthy position on the field, off the field. It's just been shambles. So a good to get off the bottom is good for them.
Yeah, good for them. Disappointing for the rest of the supporters in the league. But what can you do?
Well, who do you rather be bottom, Macarthur or Victory?
Well, I don't have much time for either clubs. But the thing is, you see a lot more Victory fans and a lot more vocal Victory fans, and you don't really meet any Macarthur. Well, I've got a few mates that go for Macarthur, and they weren't supporting the A-League before them, so I don't really despise their choice in club. But anyway, we love all fans, and going from one of a bit of a snooze fest to an absolute ripper of a game. Perth 4, Adelaide United 4, and I think, was it 3-2 at one stage just before?
It was 3-2 entering into stoppage time.
And that was to Adelaide, wasn't it?
That's right. Adelaide had scored in the 78th minute with 3-2 up, and then you had a 93rd, a 96th, and a 99th minute goal.
What else can you ask for from the A-League? That is just you could say the defense was average, but that's just entertaining football. Anyone who doesn't think the A-League's entertaining, that was an absolute ripper. And you got Irukunda right at the end, a 17-year-old scoring the equaliser. It was just the game had everything, and yeah.
That's the most dramatic 20 minutes of football I've seen in a long time. That's an A-League classic for in the 16, 17 years we've had of the competition. That stands out as just one of the most interesting games I've ever seen. Yeah. I could not believe it. For Adam Taggart to hit that shot, to take glory in front in stoppage time, in front of NIB, the crowd there in Perth, back at their HBF, sorry, back at their actual home stadium, which they've been great at Macedonia Park, but this is their real home, and the crowd showed that. Good crowd for them. And then Irukunda, I would love to see him start a match. Maybe he's just too good of a weapon to start, because if you put him on with 20 minutes to go, 30 minutes to go, he's gonna have a field day. So it's almost too powerful not to play him against tired defenders, but I'd love to see him get the chance to start and show us what he can do over a 90 minutes, over 70 minutes. But the kid's magic, like just so determined. And what a game. So good. So good. What an ad for the A-League.
Yeah, no, it was an absolutely fantastic game. And moving on to the Monday night, I didn't watch too much of this. It was a really good crowd, though, over 12,000 at Brisbane to see Sydney FC beat the Raw 2-0. It's a rare time they've played. I think it's only the third time this year they played at Lang Park. And it was really good to see a positive crowd because they've been playing quite awful this year. And I think the fans have spoken that they would rather play here at Lang Park than up at Redcliffe because they got a decent crowd. I still know, 12,000 in a 52,000 seater stadium. It's not much, but it's better than what they've had before. Anyway, let's talk about the game. Yeah, you would have watched this one.
Yeah, look, the game kind of was overshadowed by great turnout by Brisbane, and the Den was full. It was good to see. But Brisbane actually dominated this game. To be honest, they had they had more possession, more shots on target, more entries into the box, more passes. Sydney actually defended decently for the first time all season, I feel. So that was really encouraging from Sydney's side of things. Brisbane will feel robbed. They definitely should have scored, and they should have won that game. But Sydney looked clinical when they actually did enter the box, and that's a good sign for Sydney coming into the finals as well. When you get to that next kind of round, which is just a one-off for third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, that's the difference between making it to a semi-final or not. So, good for Sydney. Ends Brisbane's season though, which is disappointing for them.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's the wrap on the 6 games for round 25, and so let's just dive into some topics that have come up across the past week. First off, I've been watching the Matildas doco on Disney Plus. If you got Disney Plus, we're not sponsored by the Matildas or Disney Plus, but I reckon you should go watch it because it's a great insight to. I think it starts almost about a year and a half, 16, 15 months before the World Cup, which still kicks off in a couple more months. It's been really good insight. It goes through Ellie Carpenter's ACL injury, which is pretty awful thing to happen. But it's a great story, and you get to learn and meet a lot of the players. Courtney Vine, a W player right now, had a little segment as well. But go and check it out. I'm 4 episodes in. We've got 2 more to go. I'm going to watch it when we're done here. But go check that out. Samuel, let's talk about the big elephant in the room.
Yep.
The grand final boycotts. Well, not the grand final, the finals boycotts. If you have any engagement with soccer Twitter, you would know a bit about the conversations that happened in the past week. But this has been an ongoing conversation for 4 or 5 months ever since the grand final decision was announced. If you don't know, the next 3 grand finals, including the one that's going to happen at the end of this season, will be in Sydney, regardless. It was always the highest ranked team in the grand final they got a host. Now it's going to be a set fixture in Sydney for the next 3 years. And as you can imagine, that's caused quite a lot of anger within the football community. And early this week, I think Sydney FC became the first club to come out and officially, when I say first club, I say really the only club that has any chance of playing in the finals to come out and officially boycott finals and grand finals if they are to play in it in the men's competition.
Yeah, so this is, I guess it's worth clarifying that's the Cove that's come out, not Sydney FC. They're not boycotting the finals. The team's going to play, but the Cove at the active support. And so they put out their statement saying that actually they're quite disappointed. It looked earlier in the season, after all the hoo-ha, after the Melbourne Victory incident, and the APL reached out to active support groups around Australia and said they were going to set up all these kind of fans voices things. They're going to set up some direct kind of conversation, trying to work towards fixing some of the issues that the fans saw. And the Cove pretty much come out and said it was all just talk to shut us up. Nothing's happened. They've done nothing. No one's been in contact. And so because they've let down on their side, you know what? We are actually going to boycott the final series. So, yes, for the men's, they've talked to the women's kind of key support and said, is this good thing? And they've actually decided that it's right to support the women in the final series, that they weren't as much affected or part of this. They've kind of just got the rough end of the stick in this deal. And so it's just the men. So next week could be a Sydney derby in the knockout final. But the Cove said no active support. It's okay. Like if you've got to go, or if you want to go, do it, but don't sit in active support. That's a voice, like having no active support, no message there is a message to the APL that they're not going to take this line down. So I think it's, yeah, like you said, they're the only team that's actually in the finals so far to have their active support say they're going to boycott it. The rest of them are all quiet, and I don't want to dig in too much to whether that's right or wrong. Whether we should see some of the other clubs kind of back up this decision as well and boycott. Maybe things are in the works, and we're going to find out more about that once the regular season's over. But yeah, at the moment, Sydney's taken a stand. What's your thoughts on it, Brad? You're not particularly fond of Sydney FC in any regard.
No. So I think it was I think this is obviously a decision that's affected both the men's and the women's competitions. I thought it was a very interesting take not to boycott the women's, because I would say the women's prior to this decision didn't really get much attention, and still don't get much attention. And I don't think that's fair, but that's just the reality. The men, I think the men would. Actually, I don't think attendances outside Melbourne Victory have been particularly harmed by the decision. I think our reputation has taken a hit, not from the grand final decision, but by the idiot Melbourne Victory fans who decided to assault a goalkeeper. And I think that probably ruined any proper chance of these boycotts or protests having any meaningful action 5 months ago or right now. They're not going to listen to us because they saw what happened when Melbourne Victory fans, not all the fans, some fans protested and ran onto the field and assaulted a goalkeeper. Yeah, listen, each their own. If this is the decision the Cove want to do, then so be it. I've seen a lot of comments online really having personal attacks at people because they've decided they're going to go to the finals. Listen, our sport is so deeply divided already. From poor decisions from the APL and from governing bodies right down to our local soccer clubs, there is nepotism, there is poor decision making everywhere. And what we don't need is further division within ourselves. So if you've got a mate that wants to go to the grand final or the finals matches, don't call him a piece of shit. Just let him go. If he wants to go, that's fine. And if you want to boycott the finals, that's fine. But don't also expect that everyone jump up and hold to the same standards as you. Melbourne Victory, I think, were pretty vocal, but they've been boycotting their games for 5 months now. They haven't been able to accept that. You know what? Danny Townsend has made a really bad decision. The APL have made some really bad decisions, but Melbourne Victory fans have to take the onus on. There was actually a handful of idiots at their game that ruined any potential for these protests to have any meaning. They need to accept that. They've blamed everyone else except themselves, and they need to say, you know what, we played a part in this and we stuffed up, and they need to take some onus on themselves. Yeah, I think it's a tough one. I think if you want to go to the grand final, so be it. If you don't, and I'm not saying that because I'm a Wanderers fan, I can go to the game. I still live 3 hours away from a grand final. Every game I go to for the Wanderers, I've been to 13 games, I think, this year. They're all technically away games for me. But obviously, it's very hard on someone like the Western United fans who want to go to their home game, which is like 12 hours away, however long it takes the drive, or a couple of hours on the plane from Melbourne to Sydney. So I feel for those fans, and it sucks. And just because we're Sydney fans, well, you're a Sydney FC fan or we're a Wanderers fan, or we benefit from this decision, doesn't mean we don't feel for you, and doesn't mean we like the decision. But I think we need to just stop abusing other people because they have a different opinion to us. So yeah, I think I've said it before several times in my little rant here. If you want to go to the grand finals and the finals, go. If you don't want to go and you want to boycott, that's fine, but don't rip into people who do it.
Yeah. Again, it is hard. I think the APL made a lot of bad decisions, and then they made some promises to try and make it sound better.
Yeah.
But they just never carried through with those. So I think it's right. Like the Western United supporters who'd want to go and watch their female team, their women's team that's made a final on merit, and yeah, really should have the right to host the grand final. They got a package for travel and accommodation like last week, and they've known for 2 weeks at least that they're going to be in the grand final.
Yeah.
So that's a bit slow. Like if these things were already in the works months ago, surely as soon as the first team made it, you had those ready to send out just for them so that home support, first place support gets their thing. But they only got sent out like a week ago. So they'd already chartered their own bus. It's expensive. The package is not even that good. Like, to be honest, it's only like 10% off a flight and 10% off a hotel. It's not that great. You get a hat and a little pack. Like, it's not a good package.
No.
And so you've known for months that this is going to be, and that's what you serve up. It's kind of disappointing. We'll see what the men's package is like, but I doubt it's going to be much better.
Yeah.
And it feeds into this. I can understand some of what they tried, what they wanted. That idea that the final is always in this one place. They want to appeal to the casual fan of any team who says, I'm from Perth and I want to go to the grand final. I don't have to wait till the week before to book my flight to figure out where it is. I can book it months in advance. I know I'm going to stay in Sydney. So next year, I can book a flight. I can book a hotel months in advance when the deal's good and go to the grand final, have a festival of football like they kind of planned. I understand that, but I think they're overselling how many people are going to plan to do that.
Yeah.
How many people want to do that. Whereas, and we've seen it all over Twitter, you see when a team gets a home final, that city turns out. Perth, when they hosted the grand final against Sydney, there were an awesome crowd at Optus Stadium to watch that.
The biggest crowd to a grand final ever.
Yeah, incredible. Almost 80,000, is that right?
No. I think it was like 57,000, 58,000.
Okay. That's an incredible. Like Adelaide Oval.
Yeah.
Packed out, like awesome to see. You look at some of the ones, Victory in the past have sold out at Etihad Stadium, 40,000 people there. Fantastic. The old SFS has hosted some absolute classics. The Jets, when they hosted, so while I can see, sure, you want casual fans to come, when you look at the alternative, it wasn't really broken. The last couple of seasons, because of COVID, sucked. The finals held at Bankwest during COVID, they were average. Last year, City versus Western United, COVID was still hanging around. There were still lots of things up in the air. You could understand the bad crowd from two teams that don't have the biggest support. But you look at every other grand final in the history of the A-League, it's been a spectacle. And so you're kind of treading on the legacy. And maybe that's where we should leave this chat. Maybe we should move on to the next topic. But I think they're treading on a legacy, and that's where the fans are hurt.
Yeah, and I understand that. I think,
and so people just turn up. I think it does weaken the message. I think it does just say, yeah, we'll take it and it's fine, rather than actually standing up and saying, you know what, you've trampled on the fans.
Yeah, and I think we're still almost 5 months on from that decision, and Danny Townsend is still acting like everything's perfect.
Well, to be honest, he only resurfaced for the first time this week, and rightly so. Like he got death threats. I don't expect him to be on Twitter anymore.
And I think I don't think he'll ever go back on Twitter. I think the death threats are unacceptable. But just like right from the start. I just don't think he could read the room.
Yeah.
Trying to sell this positive move, I think it's a poor move from the start, and I think moving forward, I think he's too stubborn. I don't think he'll resign. I think he's just so far above it. I just like you. I think AFL and NRL do it right when they have a very contentious kind of decision they want to do. They leak it to the press and they
Yeah.
see how the people react to that, and they think, okay, that's rubbish. Let's not do that. And the A League just said, let's just drop this. Like, to think that would not go down
Yeah.
um, poorly. It's so naive, and I am still peeved about the decision. But I think the APL's made it very clear, no matter what you do,
Oh yeah.
they will
Yeah.
be here for the next
It's
3 years. So
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
I would have liked a gather round or a magic round. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Have it all in Adelaide for a week. I'd love to
Yeah.
go.
The Festival of Football have the last round, and then the FFA or the Australia Cup
Yeah,
final or something
something like that.
like I know. Yeah. They could do anything. Now, I guess if the Sydney has the final for the next 3 years, they've got 3 years to make their next step awesome. And that's where the discussion needs to go. Okay, it's not changing. You need to make the next step right. Yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully the next step is going back to what it was before. But yes, let's move on from those grand finals. We do love you all, and we love whatever club you go for, and we will respect whatever decision you make around the finals. But please love one another, and don't bite people's heads off if they don't agree with you. Dear Marty, Western United, he's retired. It's probably not surprising. He's 38, so and he wasn't playing as often. I don't think he'd started since like the FA Cup.
Yeah, he's had a rough run of injuries kind of this season. But what a joy. What a joy to have in the A League.
And
He's
apparently
been
he's going to
great.
go into a coaching role with an A League club, which hopefully will be Western United because he seems to really love the Melbourne lifestyle.
Yeah, I think he suits Melbourne. And so, he's got it's a really smart move if Western United can get him as part of a coaching team and help as they transition towards their training ground and hopefully sometime soon they start breaking ground on that promised stadium.
Well, they've laid the
To
turf at
shape the
the training ground now. They've laid the turf, and I think Joe Lynch had an article in the week saying that they plan to, weather pending, because you can't control weather, to be able to be playing all their games out of that training facility from next year. They're looking at temporary seating, so that's really exciting heading into next season for Western United because they could really have something going there, which is really exciting because they definitely, surprisingly, seem to be the better of the two expansion teams, which I was quite surprised with. Anyway, so yeah, Diamante retires. It's sad because he's been a great joy for the league. Nanny, he won't be seeing out his Melbourne Victory contract. I think we're not overly surprised. Apparently, he had a quota of games he had to play, and it's unfortunate with
really?
the ACL injury. So
So
I think he had to play so many games, but because he didn't, he can get out of the contract or something like that.
incredible. And
Yeah, which
just
I don't think I don't think he
it's
was
just
too
a
bad
waste
of a
of a
signing. It's just he was at a club that probably didn't need him, and I thought he was pretty decent. It's just the injury wasn't great.
yeah, that's right. Like again, when a marquee is signed by the league and not a club,
Oh, is that right? Yeah, okay.
it's just not going to go right. Like you look at that Victory side, did he make them better? I don't think so. Like they already had Ikonomidis, Ben Falami, they had Daggers at the start of the season. Their front three was pretty set. Like I don't think they need him. Sure, he has to go to one of the big teams to have a pull, but I think it's a poor move all round. It started promisingly, but really his performance on the pitch never really inspired. It was cool. We got that moment where the kid jumped the fence at Sydney and Brennan got a photo with him. He took a photo with some guys getting a kebab once in his first week. And then that was it. He played a couple of half-assed games, got injured, went to the World Cup, hung out with Ronaldo in Saudi Arabia. Like,
Who wouldn't?
yeah,
Qatar,
absolute.
yeah, who wouldn't?
Just chalk it up to another list of absolute farts marquee signings for the A-League. Like, just
Yeah.
terrible.
Don't think he'll be up there with Daniel Sturridge, but yes.
Yeah, at least he played. Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, we're running out of time. We'll quickly mention Mile Sojowski has re-signed for MacArthur until the end of the 24-25 season. So that's really encouraging to know that they'll still exist in a couple of years' time. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good signing. I think, yeah, there's nothing wrong with him. He's got a good opportunity to again mold a team. A bit of a different style to someone like Dwight York, who just wanted to play attacking football and couldn't give two rats about a defense. Stojovski's more in the mold of we're going to sit back, we're going to make it difficult to score against us, and then hit you on the counter. And some people hate that kind of football. Me personally, I think the beautiful thing about football is
You play different
there's
ways.
yeah, there's not one way to win. You can win however you want. And if that's how you want to play and it pisses other people off, I love that. I think that is so good. So if Stojowski wants to set up a low block in MacArthur, I'm all for it.
Very good. All right, we're running out of time, so let's quickly go through round 26, the final round. I think that Friday night is going to be the one to watch. You'll be flicking between both games. Melbourne City in first. That's already wrapped up. They won't change anything. But Wanderers, their host Melbourne City Wanderers. Wanderers are fourth. They could potentially end up in second. But second place, Adelaide United is hosting Central Coast, who's third. And so these three teams, Adelaide, Wanderers, and Central Coast, will be battling out for that second spot that week off for the finals. So that's going to be really exciting, these two games. I imagine Adelaide's probably going to be a sellout. I imagine Melbourne City won't be. I think there's a talk of a good crop of Wanderers fans going down for the game, so that'll be good. But yeah, it's going to be really exciting. I wonder what Melbourne City do. Will they rest players? But they've already got the week off, so they might not bother resting players anyway. They can
You
do
know what
whatever they
sucks
want.
about this though? Like this should be the Saturday night,
Yeah.
the showpiece. This is what you want to show people. The final round, the top four all playing off against each other at the same time. We get a little bit of that final round. It's only on a mini scale, but it's gonna be drama because you're gonna see that table chop and change those second, third, and fourth places a couple of times over the night. Hopefully, I'm hoping for two big scoring games.
Yeah.
Probably we'll get 2-1 all draws, is what I actually think is going to happen, and no one will go anywhere. But
yeah, I think maybe something the league can look at in the future is I think what the AFL do, they call it a floating schedule. For the last couple of rounds, they just don't say what day and dates the game is going to be on, so they can decide closer date, mainly to make sure teams get a full week off they have a week off before the finals anyway.
yeah.
But anyway, I think these should be two good games. I think this will be a good test for the Wanderers to actually see how good they're going at the moment. Wellington's a good team. They've been in the finals spots basically all year, but a win against Melbourne City will set them in real good stead heading into the finals. Saturday Arvo, Sydney FC hosting Newcastle and MacArthur hosting Wellington, and I think these two fixtures will decide the sixth and final spot. Wellington's in it at the moment, but I think if Newcastle beat Sydney FC, and if MacArthur beat Wellington, Newcastle will go through.
Yeah. So well, it'll come down to goal difference. Really, Wellington's future is in their hands. All they need is a draw.
Yeah.
And they've got finals football. So against MacArthur, away from home, but I actually back Wellington to get a win here. MacArthur haven't been great. They're only playing for pride, and that's not much. Newcastle could jump them, but it'd take a bit of a goal swing. Same with Perth and Western United play off against each other, and they're both on 29 points. So either of those two can technically, if Wellington lose, jump. Western, I think, have the best goal difference. So they're actually, or maybe they don't because they're bottom of the three. But that could be interesting. But yes, Wellington, they should win. Their future's in their hands. They've just not had a good last couple of weeks, have they?
So Wellington -7 on 32, then Perth, Newcastle and Western are on 29, but Perth's on -9, Newcastle -13, and Western -14. So maybe Perth is probably the better chance of getting through out of anyone.
On -9 goal difference.
Yeah, compared to Wellington -7, but Wellington would have to lose and Perth would have to win. So
yeah, so it has to be a 2-goal swing either way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So bit of drama there, but I can't see Wellington losing it from this point. And yeah, I think your top 6 is already set. Will they finish in the current positions? Geez, I reckon Central Coast could beat Adelaide. I reckon they could jump into that second spot the way Adelaide's playing right now. They're just a bit off, 3 games without a win. Mariners are really good form after win against Newcastle, and they've had comfortable wins against Western and Brisbane. So it's going to be real interesting. Make sure you tune in Friday night because that's going to be some drama unfolding, better than any of those movies on free to air. So
absolutely, yeah. Then Victory play Brisbane on Saturday at 7:45. It's just a game for nothing. Neither team can really get anything. Victory, I guess, will know if they need a win or not to stay off the bottom. But yeah, that's going to be a bit of a snooze fest. And that's the featured game. That's the game on 10 Bold on free to air.
When you made those fixtures at the start of the year, you'd probably think Melbourne Victory on a Friday night, on a Saturday night probably would have been good. But these fixtures are made.
Yeah, that's right.
Not a year, 7-8 months ago. Like, maybe that's just something to think about in the future for the APL if they want to do anything good, is to potentially do a floating schedule where they leave the last maybe couple of weeks and they announce it when we're a bit close and we know how the season's going. But
yeah, and then final game of the round is also on Saturday because they're leaving free air on the Sunday for the women's grand final. So
that is a good move. Hats off. At least they're giving that a go.
I like that. But Perth 10 p.m. Kickoff. It's like 7 o'clock over there, but 10 for us eastern suburbs people. But Perth versus Western at HBF.
Yep.
It's that could be, again, they'll know whether or not they can make the finals or not. So if Wellington lose, that could be a really interesting match, a really interesting way to finish off the round. If Wellington draw or win, then it's just playing for positions. Maybe it could influence who's playing off for the Australia Cup next year.
Yeah,
it could, because Western currently are in that spot. So yeah, could be interesting. Teams want to qualify automatically for the Australia Cup because that's your preseason kind of competitive matches.
Yeah. Very good. Well, thanks for joining us and enduring us for this long. And let us know what you think of the comments, what you think of our chat in the comments. Make sure you like the video, subscribe, and we'll see you this time next week for another weekly chat.
Yeah. See you around like a Rissell.
I'll be flat out like a lizard drinking.